You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We still don't have any new callers, so why don't we just go ahead and get started with A.A. Ron from Eau Claire.
Hey, what's up? It's A.A. Ron from Eau Claire calling. Just a couple things to say after family night. One is I would love to see Emmanuel Wilson become a regular staple of the team. I just think he's fun to watch. He's always been good in the preseason, and with some injury setbacks for some of the running backs, potentially, I think he could be a solid addition for them. So, yeah, I'm rooting for him to earn a job. And then Grant DuBose, another kind of scrappy young receiver with some speed. Looking forward to seeing how he could play a role. But yeah, that's about it. I'm sorry, not family night. I realized just now I said family night.
I didn't even notice. You're good.
Preseason game, but you know what I meant.
Yep.
Anyways, all right. Well, that's all I got. Glad to see football back again, and looking forward to kind of all the discussions about who's stepping up. So, yeah.
I think I've realized over the years that there's 2 different types of people. There's people that see every single little detail, and then there are skimmers, and I'm a skimmer. If you're talking, I'm just picking up like every 10th word. I'm getting the general idea, and I'm just kind of going with it. So if you say family night when you meant the preseason game, I don't notice. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. If you spell a word incorrectly on social media, I don't even notice it. I just keep right on going because it's like, you ever see that thing where like if you switch the vowels up, you can still read it or whatever? That's how I operate with stuff. I don't care. I don't notice. And it's also why I get massively annoyed with the grammar police and whatnot, where they're like, oh, you said this and you meant this and you spelled that wrong and that's the wrong type of there. Bro, who gives a crap? Who cares? Why does anybody care? First of all, the person that wrote it probably knew if you gave them a test and said, can you write out the 3 kinds of there? They can do it. They just don't care enough to actually put the right one. They're just going a million miles an hour doing stuff. And the fact that you do know it doesn't mean anything because, again, number one, everybody else knows it too. And number 2, that's like something 3rd graders know. So it's not like you're a super genius. So just shut up. God. Also, final thing before we get to the football thing. language is just about communication, okay? If you can understand based on context, then there's no reason to correct somebody. His point was to communicate something to you, and he did. I just saw something recent. There's this guy who like learns, his goal is to learn every language in the world. He's got some funny video, not funny really, but interesting videos on YouTube. He'll go into places and speak these really rare languages or whatever. But anyways, I saw a YouTube short where he said, what was the easiest language in the world? And it was somewhere, it was like Cantonese or something. But like they don't have a million different ways of saying things. They don't even have past and present tense. It's like, I did cook, I am cook, I will cook. You know, it's like stuff like that. And it's like, well, how could you possibly? The context is how you know. So just because we set it up that way, because some people are worried that maybe contextually you won't understand, who gives a crap? It's just communication. It's just I have something in my brain and I'm trying to get it into your brain. And the fact that you got it in your brain and you fully understood it, but didn't like the way that it was sent, and it's not structurally the way that you feel that it should be, so you need to go back and worry about that. Get a freaking life. Okay, moving on. I think for Emmanuel Wilson, and we all like Emmanuel. I mean, since day one last year, his rookie year, Emmanuel Wilson was like this. He's never done anything other than be impressive. I think his only real path to the roster, though, is if Marshawn Lloyd stays hurt. And even that is going to be short term, right? I mean, if they have to put him on IR, Emmanuel Wilson is the number 3. The other would be obviously if Dillon doesn't make the team, but that's very unlikely. So yeah, I don't know, man. I every once in a while there are guys. One of them is now back on our roster, Nate McCrary. But there are guys that are impressive that everybody kind of likes, or at least some people really like, and they just kind of flounder in that position. I don't know that many of them have been as impressive as Emmanuel Wilson, but again, it's mostly just his rushing, and it's also not necessarily a ton of what we've seen in terms of against starting caliber, right? It's a lot of preseason, a lot of training camp, a little bit of regular season, but not much. So I don't know. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. And yeah, Grant DuBose, I mean, I don't see a reason not to make him the number 5 wide receiver right now. Again, we'll wait and see with the Bo Melton thing. I think he's still very much liked by the team. He had one bad day. Could easily bounce back. Malik Heath is still in the mix somewhat, although it's been very quiet, and I think we kind of know what Malik is. DuBose has made a ton of noise, has clearly surpassed Samori Toure, who I don't know if there's a place for him on this team anymore. So, yeah, man, I mean, and that's a heck of a group. When, Bo Melton is your 6th best wide receiver, that's a heck of a thing.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? Chris from Alabama.
Hey.
Just for giving a call in, man, to give a schedule prediction for this year, man.
All right, let's do it.
As of right now, like I said, I know it's kind of early. I might round back on it. Maybe we get it a little bit closer to week 1, and then again, I'm probably going to stick with it, man. I've been looking over the schedule and going over some things for a couple of days, and I'm predicting us at worst with a 12-5 record. I want to say 13-4, but I'm going to say 12-5.
Okay.
The games that kind of concern me is, of course, the very first game of the year against the Eagles.
Sure.
I know a lot of people probably low on the Eagles because of what happened at the end of last year. They do got new offense and defense coordinators coming in, so that might take a little time. And week 1 is one of those kind of funny weeks where some teams that you expect to lose win, and they look good, and you get the week 1 fever, and like, oh, this team is going to come out of nowhere, and then the next 4 weeks they go 0-4, and all of a sudden they're looking at a 1-4 record. But yeah, the feeling one kind of concerns me. The Rams game, I know we have the Rams number, but we are playing in LA, and I know the last couple of trips to LA we lost, so that could be a tricky one.
And they're a good team, so.
The Houston game is another one that might be kind of tough, even though we're at home. I feel like we'll take care of that because we are at home. and the home field advantage, and I don't think it's going to be like terribly cold by that time, but it should be a little chill in the air, and it's a dome team, so I don't know. I mean, I know Stroud played at Ohio State, so it probably won't phase him too much, but that might be a tough one to come out with a victory with, but I think we'll come out with a victory on that one. And I actually...
And to be fair, I mean, he played in that environment, but, I mean, your body acclimates very quickly. I mean, you know, Wisconsinites go through it every season. If I walked outside right now and it was winter, I'd die. I would just die. It doesn't matter that I live in Wisconsin. I'm not used to it, so it takes time. If it dropped down to 0 degrees with snow on the ground and whipping wind, it would be brutal. And then in, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, however long it takes, you become acclimated to it. So the way that works is right now it's, 80s, 90s outside. If I go outside right now and it was 60, it would be freezing. It would be like, oh, geez, I got to wear like a sweatshirt or something. You get acclimated to 0, and then all of a sudden it's 60 and you see somebody wearing a sweatshirt. You're like, dude, are you out of your mind? So I say that to say Stroud has been down there now for over a year. So he is certainly acclimated to Houston weather, and Green Bay weather is a whole different thing. I don't care if you spend your whole life in that area, your body has to reacclimate.
It circled that Jacksonville game only because of 2 reasons. One, it seems like every year we have that one game, that fluky game that is like, okay, we should beat this team. We're better than this team. And then all of a sudden we come out and lay an egg and lose.
Well, and it's at Florida, and I know everybody's scared of the at Florida games. I think it was used to be everybody blamed Rodgers for it, but I think it's still just a lingering thing in the back of Packer fans' minds is we don't do well at Florida.
And that might be that game. And the other reason is because for some odd reason, when we go to Jacksonville or Tampa, it seems like we forget how to play football. I know the last couple of trips we took down there, we laid eggs. So I got that one circled as well. And I said we're going to split with Detroit. And that San Francisco game, and they got our number. Even though we're at home, I'm not really sure about that game right there. But, yeah, those games right there. And even the Seattle game, like I was saying about the Jacksonville game late in the year, it might be one of those fluky games that we supposed to win.
Part 2.
Hey, what's going on?
Nope, part 2.
I'm back again. 3-minute monster got me. But, yeah, even the Seattle game might be one that we should win, but like I said, it seems like every year we have that one game that we're supposed to all out win. There shouldn't be no worries about losing, and then just something just happened. We just lay an egg. So I'm going with 12-5. Like I said, I might come back and bring that up to 13-4. But yeah, 12-5 at worst, and of course we win the division. You know what I'm saying? I think we sweep Minnesota, we sweep Chicago. They're not going to be in the factor. I don't care what they're saying about Caleb Williams and the little preseason game. He looked pretty decent. He did. I mean, Manila defenses and all. Everybody ain't putting all their stuff out there yet, so I'm going to pump the brakes on that right now. You know what I'm saying? He looked decent going against, very, very Manila defenses. So I ain't really putting no stock on the Bears, and Minnesota is a rebuilding project. Basically, they gonna roll out Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold probably be benched by mid-season, pretty much. Sam Darnold is gonna be Sam Darnold. He's gonna see ghosts and he's gonna get benched. So, ain't worried about losing to them. It's really just a 2-horse race, and I think both of us win our home games, us in Detroit or whatever. But yeah, that's my prediction, man. Like I said, I'll be keeping an eye on everything. That's barring injuries and everything, of course. But, yeah, man, we win the division. At worst, 12-5. Hey, 12-5 might give us if it can't give us a bye, we might get that second seed and have home field at least all the way up to the championship game. So we shall see how that prediction comes out, man. Go Pack, go, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah, I think that's certainly realistic, and I it's almost sad because with all the devastation that's happened to the Minnesota Vikings, not saying you want to gloat about it. Some of it's pretty bad, but you want to just be able to enjoy having a division rival suffer. But it's like, first of all, you can't gloat about it because it's nothing but injuries and even a death. But on top of that, now I saw somebody tweet out like, they're going to be the number one pick, and I thought about it. And I'm like, dang, dude, they probably are. They might actually be the number one pick, which means we've had 3 years in a row of NFC North teams rivals with the number one pick. Like, come on, man, we can't keep doing this. This is getting crazy. The good news on that front is they already have their quarterback, so they're not getting a quarterback, and I believe they have 3 picks next year. One of them is a first, so they'll have the number one overall pick, and then they have like 2 fifths or something stupid, 2 thirds. I don't know what it is, but it's bad. So fingers crossed that Minnesota does find a way to win a handful of games. Just I can't imagine against it's against the Packers. It's got to be against somebody else. Hopefully they beat the Bears or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm on board with pretty much all that. There's going to be some weird ones. That's one of the things I got to do pretty quick here is start working on this season and just doing a recap of these teams, or a post-cap. I don't know what you call it. Not a recap, a pre-cap. But I'm kind of curious, like, the difference in some of these teams, right? We know the Eagles are a weird situation. We know the Vikings are a unique situation, but we're aware of it because we're NFC North fans. Same with the Bears, right? If you weren't, maybe you wouldn't be thinking about it. I don't know. Be interesting to look at the Colts, the Titans, the Cardinals, the Rams a little bit. 49ers maybe, even though we kind of know what they are. There's some talk about possibly going down. I'm just curious. I'm just kind of curious where everybody's at and just make sure we're not missing anything here. Like, there's a lot that's changed. I mean, even Seattle, I'm kind of curious about them a little bit. The Bears hired their old offensive coordinator partially because they wanted to move on from the guy and found somebody better, fortunately for us, but maybe unfortunately come that Seattle game. So, a lot of stuff happens. I mean, the Packers have changed a lot, and there's not a lot of people that realize it, and we get frustrated with them. Like, bro, do you even know that we hired Jeff Hafley? Like, do you have any idea, like, how many injuries we suffered last year? No, of course they don't. Like, do you know the situation with the Colts? No, I don't know this. Like, I know they lost their quarterback, and maybe, even with the Titans, like, they're just presumed to be a garbage franchise. It's like, well, they got a quarterback going into year 2. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's like I said before, I think it's generally a favorable schedule. There are a handful of tough teams, and most of them are going to be at home. The Texans are going to be at home. The 49ers are at home. The Dolphins are at home. So you got to feel good about probably the 3 toughest games, pending the Eagles thing. It's a super weird situation where I don't know if they're a garbage team or an elite football team. I really have no idea. But yeah, I could certainly see it. We'll have to do the thing like we did last year. I can't believe that was a year already. Remember that? We good Lord, it feels like that was 2 months ago. I had a spreadsheet out, and I had the callers call in with their season predictions. I got to find last year's, and then we'll start adding to it. In fact, let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll put yours in right away. Ha! I found it. I was really starting to get distressed there. I was like, why can I not? It was just called Packernet After Dark, though. All right, so we got Chris from Alabama is the first one in. Make sure you call in with your record predictions. Chris from Alabama. So last year you had 10.5. So this is quite a big bump up, and that was probably that was actually about right at average, or maybe a little below average. About half the people had 11 or 12, and then about half had, 10 or less, with Jeff from Minneapolis with the least at 7. Aaron came in at 9. It's actually the only one that got that right last year, so I'm curious what Aaron's got. But all right, here we go. Chris from Alabama is the first one in. So I actually have the average up here. It was 10.1, so you were right at average, about at 10.5. But big bump up there, 1.5 games. So get your calls in and let's see what we got. I don't know. I'll probably do it this year. I think I refused to last year. I kind of borderline refused to this year, but maybe I'll play along and see how it goes. It'll be a fun exercise for me. I'm sure I'm going to overthink it and try to come up with some overly analytical, mathematical thing that I'm not going to be able to figure out how to do, and then I'll just come up with something stupid. Anyways, let's take our first break. We'll come back and hear from Omar the firefighter. U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
What's going on? It's Omar the firefighter. How you doing?
What's up?
Just got a quick question of a worst case scenario. Which will be worse in your opinion? A, we win a division, but we get swept by the Bears.
Oof.
All right. B, we split with the Bears, but they win the division. I'm sorry, not we split. We sweep the Bears, but they win the division, and we still go to the playoffs. Or the Lions win the division, and we get swept by the Bears, but the Bears only win 6 or 7 games, and we make the playoffs. So each one of those, we make the playoffs. But that all, so we make the playoffs regardless, but each one of those is a different outcome. So I want to repeat what I said again because I want to mess it up.
Yeah, do that for me.
But hopefully you get it. I want to say, I'm not going to repeat it again. You can play it back.
I'll play it back.
Look at the words. But anyway, go back, go. Enjoy yourself.
I actually I was just trying to read it, and then it was even more confusing trying to read the transcription. So give me a second here. So which one is worse is the question. We win the division but get swept by the Bears is number 1. We sweep the Bears but they win the division. Or we sweep the Bears. Wait, hold on 1 sec. Oh, the Lions win the division. We get swept by the Bears, but the Bears only win 6 games. Okay. And in every scenario, we make the playoffs. I feel like the last one might be the worst one. Because we don't win the division, and we get swept by the Bears, and getting into the playoffs, I mean, I have to assume it's kind of similar to last year where we're getting in with maybe 9 wins. We kind of limp our way in with not a lot to brag about, right? Because we didn't win the division, and we can't talk up the Bears because they beat us to, that's I can't handle that. That's probably the worst one. Probably I don't know, the next one. So it should be easy. I should just say we win the division, but we lose to the Bears twice. But I hate it so much as being the best one. Or we sweep the Bears, but they win the division. That's worse though. It's just worse. I can't. I man, that sucks. Omar, that's rough, dude. That is rough. I don't know if I can. I think the best has to be we win the division, but we get swept by the Bears. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I just don't freaking know. Snacks, get me out of here, man.
Daddy! Hello, sir.
What's up?
All right, I got 3 things.
Don't give me 3 options.
1, the wide receiver position. We're so stacked with talent surrounding. They're going to keep 6, right? That's kind of the consensus as to what they're going to keep. And I know down the scale, it's like, well, if they keep Heath or they keep Dubois or Dubois or however you say his name,
sure,
doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, it's kind of like, I guess, who cares? But I do actually care.
Kind of doesn't matter.
I like Malik Heath quite a bit. And that game against the Giants, was it the Giants last year? When he was screaming all up and down the field after catching pass, I think he got a touchdown that didn't end up happening or something. But, man, that guy, I really, really, really love his heart. And I think he's a good catcher of the football. He's a good route runner. And we get to call him a Heath bar. So, if I've got a vote, I want Heath to stay. But I mean,
because of the Heath bar thing?
Dubois or Dubois, whatever, he's pretty damn good too. I mean, physically, isn't he the tallest of all the guys that we've got? Anyway, it's kind of nice to have a crisis of riches. Somebody's going to get hurt somewhere along the line, and I don't know if anybody picks up Heath or Dubois or Dubois anyway, so they may go practice squad and be fine. But that was kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing is Anders Carlson. I'm done. Like, he needs to go. So bring the other guy, and I don't care if he's mediocre, whatever. But just the way that Carlson lines up for the ball now, it's just like it's like a golfer who's trying to like fix his swing with some weird gimmick. It looks wrong, and when it counts, it's not going to happen. So let's move on. Even if it's mediocre, it's got to be better than what we've got there. And thirdly, the whole Olympic debate with the basketball thing, I'm going to get cut off here in a second. I agree with you, but if you don't think that last 2 minutes and 20 seconds where Steph drained those 4 threes and the last one with 3 guys or 2 guys in his face and the whole nighty-night bit, if that didn't get you in some shape or size, then I can't help you, man. That was sick. End of story, period. Love you. Peace.
Well, I didn't watch it. I have no idea what happened. It sounds like a cool thing happened. The guy hit 4 threes to end the game. But again, the fact that they were in a situation where they were presumably losing, the absolute best players in the NBA, getting beat by some other random country in basketball, so that one of the greatest players in the NBA has to come back and hit 4 threes in a row so that he can cockily run off and be like, nighty-night. Like, bro, you suck. Oh. You know, it's funny because all these debates now are like, MJ was good, but he couldn't hack it in today's NBA. I don't know, man. Maybe the NBA is getting worse. Maybe it's getting worse. I don't know. I don't think it used to be much of a debate that the Americans would whoop everybody in basketball. And now everybody's surpassed NBA players. Maybe NBA players aren't as good as they used to be. I don't know. Not really willing to entertain the fact that frickin' Croatia or whatever has got like the best basketball. Who did they even play? Freaking France, dude. France. Come on. France. I don't know. I got nothing for you. I got nothing. And apparently the women's basketball team competed against France in the finals, and they won by 1 point. So there you go. That's great. Really well done. So proud of you. Again, did something cool happen at the end? Sure. That's the only time I really watch basketball anyways, in the last, 2 minutes. Usually like March Madness or something. There's some cool stuff that happens. I don't like basketball, but there's some really good things that happen in those periods of time. That doesn't change anything for the fact that that's embarrassing that the USA really just can't. I mean, let's put it this way. If this French team came to the United States as a new team, they would be the best team in the NBA. Not even close. Because this is all of the best players. I mean, maybe some of them didn't participate, whatever. This is roughly all of the best players in the NBA, and they can barely beat France. So this French team is better than every NBA team that exists right now. Okay. Got it. Sorry, man. I can't get super jacked up about it. As far as, let's see, Anders Carlson. I mean, look, it's not where it needs to be. That's for sure. None of them really are. But if we want to say that we're done with Anders, which I said is one of the qualifications, there is no dude, Greg Joseph is so good, because he's not. He's not a good kicker. But if it's just Anders is complete dog crap and he needs to go, which, listen, I'm just curious, what happened, Snacks? What? So this was on Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday that made you just done with him? Because there was one day he was worse than Greg Joseph. Once. That was it. So I don't know. I don't know what he did. He's hit, I mean, 82% of his kicks, so that's pretty close to all of them, most of them. And again, one of them was in that freaking maelstrom hurricane thing where all the kickers missed their kicks, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I just need more information. What is it specifically? Because if it's just I saw a report that he missed a kick and I'm freaking done with him, okay. But I don't know. I don't know what exactly it is that sets you off about Anders necessarily. Because, again, he's, for the most part, made, if there was a set of 3 kicks, which there are in training camp, most of the time he's going to make all 3. That's just what happens most of the time. Same for Greg Joseph and the other guy that's about to get cut any minute now. I don't know. I mean, the difference between Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph is minuscule, and so I would take the upside of Anders and just say that let's give him time to develop. If we had a really good option for a kicker, it would be worth the debate. I don't really see it as far as Greg Joseph. So that's where I'm at. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and defend Anders like he's been super great, but I just don't see a great option. And so I don't know. It's just kind of where I'm at, I guess. Malik Heath. Yeah, he's had some games mixed. You mentioned earlier, it matters to you, but at the same time, I think to me, it feels like it really doesn't matter because, yeah, Malik Heath has done some stuff. He's had some really good games. DeBose, though, looks quite good. Also, Bo Melton had a couple good games. I think there was 2 of them really good games. So all of them are debatably overhyped and maybe not actually that good. All of them have some interesting potential, and all of them don't really matter because when it comes down to it, none of them are really going to touch the ball very much. God willing that health is not a major issue, we shouldn't be seeing hardly any of them. All right, let's take our final break. We've got Steve, Nate, and Garrett coming up. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, Steve up in Alaska.
What's up?
Been a little bit. I've been super busy, man. I've been a humdinger of a season. I have not stopped going, making lots of sandwiches and lots of money.
I like it.
That. But I was watching the first real preseason game where I got to actually watch the game, and so I got to see multiple kickoffs. something I'm thinking as I'm watching it, me and a buddy of mine were sitting there and we talked about it, and what came to thought is we need a new style of kicker. This kick it up into the air and get hang time stuff, it's got to go. What we need is somebody that's more like a soccer-style penalty kicker. You know, coming out of the corner kick, because it's 35 yards you got to cover, I believe it is, to the front edge of the zone. So it's not ridiculously far. Goalies and penalty kicks, I mean, you watch them in soccer, they kick those things huge distances. And they do it with angle and trajectory. Also think field goal kickers. Field goal kickers kicking a 25, 30-yard field goal, the ball goes way up in the air, clears everything, it's simple and easy. But if he's sitting out 50, 55 yards, the trajectory is lower. And so what I'm saying is we need a kicker who comes in and kicks a lower trajectory ball. Maybe can put some English on it so it curves or bends in the air, and it doesn't have the hang time. It comes down at a steeper angle so that it's harder for the receiving team to field. You know, if we want to use another sport, volleyball, serving volleyball, you can serve it way up in the air and have it come down and somebody can bump it. Or you can put it just over the top of the net and somebody has to really jam it because it's coming like right at their face. So I'm thinking we need a different style of kicker. And if we get a different style of kicker, this kickoff system could be really, really interesting because it is a live ball.
Yeah.
And so if it hits in the zone, it skips and it bounces off, the guy can't control it, it's floating out there. That's a live ball, baby. So, you know, I think that's my thought. So, want to know what you guys think? I want to know what other people think about that. I'm out. I'm having a night off. This is first time in, like 4 months, 5 months that I've had like 2 days in a row off. So I'm having some drinks, and then tomorrow I'm getting stuff done around the house. All right, go back.
Yeah, and I don't know if we would need a different kind of, completely reinventing the wheel, because a different kind of kicker would be like from the ground up, we'd have to start training kids at very young ages, middle school, high school, all the way up, you know, retraining kickers essentially. I mean, you're not just going to find guys that are like, oh yeah, I kick footballs in a super weird way. These are your kicking specialists. They're very good at kicking. Just teach them to kick slightly differently. I would be interested, you know, I feel like we kind of saw that where some people were trying to do that, more line drives, but the accuracy is much more difficult, I think, as far as trying to get it exactly where you want it to go. I saw one that went like between the players that were standing there and it landed too early. I think it would be hard to do. I'd be interested to see if we got some soccer players in there, which, you know, sometimes like Mason Crosby was a soccer player. I know that. But some of the stuff, and I know it's a different ball, so the physics is different, but some of the stuff they can do is crazy. You start talking about English, dude, they kick those balls, they come hooking right back. It would just be kind of interesting to see as far as technique. You know, if we wanted to maybe hit it a little bit more line drivey, probably couldn't be too much because you still have to clear the guys' heads in front of you. So you're still having to pop it up, you know what I mean? And if you pop it up and hit it hard, it sails into the end zone. So, you know, you might be just like trying to give guys haircuts right over the top of their head. But yeah, I mean, if you could really start to get some velocity on the kicks and then have it where it's a little bit of a curveball or something, it could be interesting. It could be. Because even still, you could say, well, I mean, if they misjudge it and somebody jumps out of the way, it goes into the end zone. So what? So what? Like I said, I think that's going to be a standard thing anyways. I don't think it's that big of a deal to bring it out to the 30. So you got a guy like Keyshawn Nixon, who's probably, most people are going to want to kick it out of the end zone anyways. You kick it like a line drive kind of at the guy's head. If he moves, it goes into the end zone, but he's not going to move. He's going to try to catch that thing. So get him to try to catch it, hopefully, you know, drop it. It's a live ball. They're not going to get there in time because there's still that big gap. But still, you're going to be picking that thing up, hopefully like on the 5-yard line. By that time you get it up, we can get you down maybe the 10 or something. You know, I mean, those are the kind of interesting things to consider. So it's worth trying all these different ideas. I don't know if it'll ever evolve to that point. I don't know the physics of it, if that's feasible, but it would be interesting to see a little bit more line drivey. Again, I do remember one team trying it. It went right in between all the players and landed way early. And I don't know if they were trying that and just failed because, again, these guys are not used to doing that kind of stuff. But I don't know. You got to try it. I mean, that is going to be the hardest part, though, too, is these guys have been trained to kick a certain way for a long time. You can try to retrain them, but I don't know. I don't know. And you can't just go get soccer players because it's a completely different ball. I mean, maybe they could be a little bit better, but, do you want to reinvent the wheel to that degree to where we're going to just go get new kickers and try this thing that we don't even know if it's going to work? Making the jump, I guess, would be the hardest part. And I think because it's such a steep learning curve that they don't really have time to develop, they probably rather just say, let's not do that and continue on the path we're on and see what we can do with the best we can with what we got.
Well, good morning, Ryan. It's Nate calling.
Howdy.
I just wanted to call in for, I guess one reason was because I got up early this morning, getting ready to start my day. Part of my daily routine usually includes the Packernet podcast, but I guess not this morning.
Sorry about that.
Ryan.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. I know you need your days off. But anyway, one reason I was calling in is I'm worried about the offensive line, and I think we all are. It's not where it probably should be, and I know a lot of people are happy with a few pieces. In my opinion, we have 1.5 offensive linemen. I am happy and content with Zach Tom at right tackle. Beyond that, Elton Jenkins, I like him, but he's got his ups and downs. Yeah. He's got his issues. He's not, I don't know. I don't want to say he's not good because he's a good offensive lineman, but he's not necessarily the most consistent lineman on the planet. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, Rasheed Walker, I know everybody likes him, and I do like Rasheed, but I think everybody keeps talking about what about that second-year jump, and what if he improves and improves? But I haven't heard anybody mention, hey, what if he was a one-year wonder? That sure. does happen in the NFL. Sometimes people come in, they ball out one season, and then they just disappear, and then they drop down. So what if that was his ceiling? What if last season was his ceiling and he regresses and he's below average? And then, we've got a below average left tackle. We've got Josh Myers at center, who is, he's Josh Myers. I don't know what else to say. And then right guard, we can't seem to figure out, is it going to be Sean Ryan? Is it going to be Jordan Morgan? Who is going to play right guard? Granted, right guard is probably the least valuable position on the entire offense, at least, but still, it's still, you need somebody to block there. So I don't know. I'm suspect on the offensive line at best. Would just like to get your actual thoughts on how comfortable you are with each individual person. I think we're all comfortable with Zach Tom, so you can exclude him, but in your honest opinion, how many of those pieces are you truly comfortable with? Go Pecco.
Well, comfortable and excited are two different questions. I would agree with you if we were talking about excited or felt like we had a really solid football player. I mean, we don't have one David Bakhtiari. Zach Tom has not proven to be that. Maybe he'll become that. I don't know. Kind of feel like, this is year 3 for him. So I don't know how much massive of a jump he's going to take. It'd be cool if he did, but otherwise he's going to be what he is, which is a good offensive tackle. Rasheed is even less than that. He's a maybe decent offensive lineman. Elton showed flashes of elite for a very brief period of time. He struggled with injuries and just has never gotten back to that. I'm holding out hope, but I'm starting to get Kenny Clark vibes where it's he really flashed and he really looked like he was going to be the next thing, and then it started to regress, and you just are like, oh, that's weird. I wonder when that's going to bounce back, and it just never does. But we'll see. And then Josh Myers is even lower on the list because he was always kind of, again, I like the pass blocking, the run blocking sucks. And then last year it was just everything sucks. I don't know what happened. And then you get right guard where we I don't even know if we have a floor there because I don't know what Jordan Morgan is. And I certainly am not comfortable with Ryan there. So if we're asking comfortability, I mean, you could argue, 3 or 4 that I'm comfortable with. I know we can play with, because we did. Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers. We were perfectly fine with that last year. It was not a bad offensive line. Jordan Love was not constantly under duress. He did not lead the league in sacks. I mean, it was a perfectly adequate offensive line, and we might even have an upgrade at right guard, potentially. The run blocking is not good, but it shouldn't be worse than last year. If we're talking excitement, there's basically none. I mean, Zach Tom, again, is borderline exciting in terms of like that guy's really talented, but he's just more or less knocking on the door of that. I don't know. I don't want to say I've given up hope on Elton Jenkins, but I kind of feel like if he can just slot into good, not great, I'll be content with it. Josh Myers, I mean, if he could just bounce back to what he was, it'd be great. Otherwise, I don't know. He's probably gone soon. And, I mean, I suppose we should all be excited about Jordan Morgan, right? He's a first-round pick. If he's going to be a guard, hopefully he can be a top-tier guard. So we've got, the right side kind of locked down. Elton's going to be there probably long-term as a decent guard option, potentially great guard option. And then really it just kind of comes down to, hopefully we find another center. And we certainly need some better depth, although Jacob Monk is developing. Sean Ryan is developing. We don't even know what he's at right now. He might actually be pretty solid right now. I don't know. He took a big jump from year 1 to year 2. If he can do that from 2 to 3, we've got an option there. And then, yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Rasheed taking a step has more to do with, me when I mentioned it, it's more the fact that the way I talk about him is the way I just talked about him now. This is what he is. And then I give him the benefit of the doubt that, it was only 1 year, so it's not impossible that, that maybe that's not who he is. Maybe he's a good football player. And it's, again, I say that because I tend to doubt him, not just because he wasn't that great, but because he's a 7th-round pick. But the idea being, if he was a first-round pick, there would be almost no doubt in anybody's mind that we should be expecting a second-year leap. Yes, a regression certainly is possible. I would say it's a little less likely, but it's possible. But that would be, I guess, my answer. Am I excited? No. I think our depth is terrible. I think our starting offensive line is just good enough. I think we've been in worse situations in this, absolutely. I mean, very recently. I mean, Billy Turner was a dumpster fire of a football player, and we had Royce Newman in at guard. Back in 2018, we had this hodgepodge of just absolute putrid garbage. I mean, we're doing okay. I think we struck gold with Rasheed Walker being in the 7th round. Elton Jenkins is not a liability. We got Josh Morgan. Zach Tom was an absolute hit out of the park. And then again, we'll see about Caleb Jones. We'll see about Dillard. We'll see about Monk. We'll see about Sean Ryan. We'll see about Telford. Probably nothing there, but they seem to be excited about him for a while. We'll see. But I think pending a bunch of injuries, we're going to be okay where we are, good enough to compete. With the caveat that I would like, and I think most of us would, especially since we're really comfortable with a lot of other positions, really just hammer offensive line. And we usually do anyways, but maybe a little bit earlier, right? I mean, we did get Jordan Morgan this year, which is great, 1st round. So maybe that was a good trade-off. We got, instead of 3 offensive line, maybe we got 2, but 1 was a 1st-round pick. But just continue to do that, and hopefully we just continue to get better. But it does feel very thin, and I don't know that I'm as panicked. I think the training camp notes are really scaring the crap out of people. I was certainly encouraged by the fact that our defense did not allow the Browns to run at all, and our offense was suddenly able to run the ball when we went up against Cleveland. So, and again, we could run the ball last year. They're not a good run-blocking team. They never really have been, but they're adequate enough, and I think they'll be that again. So that's where I'm at. We'll see what happens with the Broncos. Who knows? Maybe they'll be able to run all over our defense, and then we won't be able to run, and then it'll be panic mode. But for now, I'm content. I think depth is the scariest part. But, it's a good, not great unit. It's just what it is. We don't have Bakhtiari and Balaga and TJ Lang and Corey Linsley, this elite offensive line like we did however many years ago. But I think it's adequate enough to keep Jordan safe, to, we got a good enough running backs now with Josh Jacobs, replacing Aaron Jones. Hopefully we got something in Marshawn Lloyd that we can keep guys honest and run the ball. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay. My biggest thing, again, is just stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, we'll be all right. If they start getting hurt, we're in trouble fast. So anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. We do have Garrett, but he's got 2 calls, and I got to get up out of here. So we will address that tomorrow. Otherwise, you guys have a good rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.